All this month, we have been dreaming about what we want our next 12 months to look like. We've been doing that by reflecting on the last year, thinking about what needs to come with us into 2023 and what we're going to let go of, choosing a word of the year, creating a digital vision board. And today I'm going to give you a real living example of a digital vision board, and I'm also going to unveil my word of the year. If we're just meeting for the first time, hi, I'm Michelle and I'm so glad you're here. If you're someone who feels extra inspired to bring all of those visions to life this year, I hope that you will hit that subscribe button because I have a whole lineup of videos that I look forward to sharing with you throughout the rest of this year to help you design a life that is intentional, built on your preferences, and I will be here to offer encouragement and support to give you the confidence to see them through. And if you haven't yet created your digital vision board, I'm hoping that this might inspire you to approach it in a different way. We're not just picking 12 goals and going to be checking them off one by one. These goals are interconnected, they affect one another. It's a whole vibe and it's a whole aesthetic. Let me show you what I'm talking about. In looking at this vision board versus the ones that I've created in the last 2 years, this one has a different vibe. In 2021 and 2022, I had a lot of these deep, darker colors. I was very attracted to this deep blue color, also with tones of a richer green and pops of an orangey gold. Overall, they felt a lot more fall energy. And if I'm gonna psychoanalyze myself, that's kind of how I was feeling in 2021 and 2022. It felt like a little part of me was dying, that I had reached the end of this season and the end of a chapter for my business. And even though I didn't have a dramatic shutdown or lost a big client, over time, in those 2 years, things were slowly starting to trickle away, much like falling leaves. And I was left at the end of 2021 specifically in this place of real darkness. So once this new vision board was complete and I took a step back and looked at it, I thought, this feels like a breath of fresh air. This feels like new life, and it feels like spring, like a new beginning. And this isn't the sort of thing that I want you to try to predict when you're choosing your images, because if I was doing that, I would have chosen summer, my favorite season. I think you have to kind of go with your gut, see what your subconscious attracts you to, and then pay attention to what that's trying to tell us, because no season is bad. I know that just in reflecting on 2021 and 2022, it sounded pretty negative, but just like any season, each one of them has a purpose. And I think that I needed to go through that season and to shed things in order to make space for bringing in the new that hopefully I'm going to be welcoming in 2023. Another thing that stuck out to me when my vision board was complete and I kind of zoomed out and looked at it was that I chose quite a few images that have this painterly quality to them. This couple that's sitting on the beach. Then I have this other one of the 4 women that has this quality, like it could be a photograph, it could be a painting, it could be a composite. And then the first image that appears on my board in the upper left-hand corner is this image of a woman reaching up into a bookshelf. And even though that's a photograph, the composition of it and the lighting and the feel very much makes me think that this could easily be painted. I don't know exactly what to make of that, other than I know that one of the big desires that is in my heart for this year is to bring more art into my life. I already got things kickstarted at the end of last year by updating the gallery walls in my office, this one behind me and another one in my stairwell. I'll link to the videos where I showcase those below. We've lived in our house now for over 5 years. Most of the walls are still bare because I haven't been able to make a decision about what I want to hang up. So I'm going to let those choices on my vision board encourage me to take some risks. I also chose this image in the top row of the woman who looks like she's decorating a shelf, because those two big pieces of art that are hanging up in the background are something that I quite literally want to do this year. My degree is in graphic design, so I took a lot of fine art classes in college, and my mom, bless her, even though I'm someone who is always keen to throw things out, made me hang on to a lot of my pieces of art that I created in college. I have some figure drawings just like the ones that are shown in this photo, and I want to hang them up in my house. Something else that I'm taking from all of these painting and art vibes is to lean more into the art side of me. I really struggle with getting messy and experimenting. When I think about creating fine art, you definitely need to be more open to making a mess versus, I'm sure all the graphic designers watching this can relate, we are so used to having the control of the computer and being able to make sure that things are exactly how we want it to be, just simply based on clicks and looking at numbers. I hope that this might encourage you to follow along with me on my journey this year as I somewhat begrudgingly attempt to get a little bit more messy with my art. I mentioned that some of the images that I chose for my vision board are very literal and some of them are based more on a feeling or a vibe. So let's jump into the easy ones. I'm going to tell you the very literal ones and the reasons that I chose them. The first I already referenced, but it's the image of the 4 women who were dressed in these fancy gowns. I always wish that I had the opportunity to go back and live in a time where people valued things like putting so much thought into what we wear or even how we carry ourselves. I also chose it because my youngest sister is getting married at the end of this year, and we are a family of 4 sisters. So when I saw that image, I immediately thought of the 4 of us. And my sister, Laura, who's getting married, her style is very different than mine. And I do not in any way think that I am manifesting that this is how we'll be dressed for her wedding. But I'm more taking it as all of us finding opportunities in this year to celebrate Laura, to be a little fancy, which is something that all 4 of us love to do in our own unique ways. And also because we all now live in different places, and my sisters Allison and Lisa each have 3 kids, I'm also hopeful that the planning that we're gonna do and the celebrations that we're gonna have for Laura, all leading up to Laura and Dom's wedding at the end of this year, will be an opportunity for the 4 of us to spend more time together and to bond more than we have in the last few years. The next 2 images were both really intentional. If you look in my folder of other options that I considered for this slot or this category, I was really looking for images of robes, of spas, of renewal, and self-care. I'm turning 40 this year, which in a way is part of why I feel like this is a new chapter for me. But one of the things that I really want to focus on this year is self-care in a deeper way when it comes to skincare and having treatments done. I'm pretty comfortable with the skincare routine that I have right now, and I'm pretty happy with generally how my face looks. I mean, we all have problem areas and things that we're self-conscious about. But as I move into my 40s, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to continue to be happy, but I think it also goes beyond just the vanity and the physical appearance. I also want to experience the practice of having spa treatments, having facials done, purely because I think that I am worth it. And that's something that's really hard for me. That's something that I'm definitely going to need to push through discomfort when it comes to even booking a spa appointment. Because sometimes when I look at those prices, I just think, there are a million other things that I would rather spend that money on. But more than the money, I always think, oh, that's gonna be like 2 hours or 3 hours or a whole day. And that's really silly. No matter our life situation, we should all be able to carve out that time in our life, even if it is a short amount of time, to take care of ourselves. It is so much more than the result of maybe looking more aesthetically pleasing. It really has to do with honoring ourselves and believing that we are worth taking care of so that we can be examples and encourage our loved ones to do the same. I'm very excited to talk about this next picture because I think that I have had this image in my head and known that I had wanted to put it on my vision board eventually from the first time I saw it. I actually remember snapping a photo of this when it appeared on TV last winter. This is the character Midge Maisel from the Amazon series, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I have chosen this image for a multitude of reasons. I really connect with this character of Midge. I think that she is really strong. I think that she is a trailblazer. The whole basis of the series is her breaking away from this path in life that she thought she had down. She had it all. She had the husband, she had the kids, she had the beautiful apartment and the clothes and the family. And then at the beginning of the series, that all falls apart, but it leads her to be able to pursue something that she had never considered because she didn't even know that it was an option. So I very much look up to this character, as silly as that sounds, because it's not based on a real person. And one more little sub reason why I chose that image is because Amy Sherman Palladino is the woman who created The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and if her name sounds familiar to you, it's because she also is the creator of Gilmore Girls. And even though Amy isn't someone who is very forward-facing in the media, from everything that I know about her, she is a really strong woman and someone that I look up to in terms of storytelling and fighting for the stories that you want to produce. So I'm hopeful that I can channel a little bit of that Midge energy and a little bit of that Amy Sherman Palladino energy into this year. Okay, I'm being verbose and the sun is starting to go down, so I had to bring out the old lighting equipment. So if I look a little bit different now, that's why. This image on the bottom left-hand corner with the telephone, of everything on the board, it could be the one that could go. I had a couple other options that I wanted to put in that spot, but it was clashing with the color scheme and the vibe, so I put that in there. And if I need to make some sort of connection to it, I like the idea of this phone and having the reminder to answer the calls when they come in. And I don't mean that literally. I hate phone calls. If you're watching this, please never call me. But it makes me think of this book by Seth Godin. I believe that opportunities are coming our way constantly. And it may not feel like that all the time, but when it's not feeling like that, I personally, for myself, believe it's because I'm not ready to accept for whatever that thing is to come into my life. Either because I don't think that I'm ready, I don't think that I'm worthy, that maybe I have a long list of things that I need to do first. So every time I look at that image, I want to be mindful of when an opportunity comes up, and I do feel like it is in alignment with something that I want, to answer that call and to go after it and to say yes without hesitation. And I wish that for you as well. Moving on, this black and white image of the woman who looks a little bit like Audrey Hepburn, but I don't think it's her, balancing the martini glass on the top of her forehead is probably my favorite image that appears on the board. The way I interpret this is, other than of course like the old-fashioned aesthetic, is that I think of the word balance, because she has to balance the martini glass on her head. It's the reminder to lean into my inclination to be a little bit fancy, to drink a martini when I'm in the mood to drink a martini, but also the fact that she is looking up. I very purposely placed this in the bottom row to communicate optimism. In addition to turning 40 this year, my husband and I are also going to be celebrating our 15th wedding anniversary, which does not seem real to me because we're still so young, that can't possibly be the case. But we went to London and Paris for our 10-year wedding anniversary, and we are really hoping, if everything works out, that we can go back to London again to celebrate our 15th wedding anniversary. This image that comes next is from the Cotswolds. It's from the English countryside. Instead of doing London and Paris, I'm hoping that we can do a combination of the city of London that the two of us love so much, paired with having a little bit more of a relaxing and rejuvenating, to stay with my spa theme, time exploring the English countryside. I also really love the glow of that image. I love the time of day in which it was taken. I love the greenery. It feels really lush. And I think that that image definitely adds to that spring and new life vibe that I'm going for. This next image is a loaded one. If you watch my 2022 recap video, you'll know that I spent a lot of time talking about this image that I had on my vision board that reminded me of my grandma, who passed away at the beginning of last year, and how that image kind of became this representation of the passing of time, how precious life is, and the reminder to take action on pursuing my goals and dreams. And in a way, to honor my grandma and all of my ancestors, all of the sacrifices that they took to bring me to this very privileged place. And I never want to take that for granted. So this year, this image of the watches is still very much connected to my grandma. I remember after she passed away and we were going through her jewelry, she had so many watches, and nothing fancy like a Rolex or anything like that. But my mom said, "Oh yeah, you didn't know the Grammy had such like an affinity for watches." So in a way, I chose this image to kind of carry on that same thought that I had represented in last year's board. But it is also a reminder of my impending 40th birthday, of getting older, of knowing that all of us have limited time, but also for one more reason. At the end of last year, I was having a conversation with two friends of mine, and one of my friends mentioned that her husband had just gotten a really nice watch as kind of a thank you / incentive gift from his company for being there for so long. And I kind of jokingly said, because all three of us in this conversation are entrepreneurs and we work for ourselves, I said, may we all have years next year that lead us to treating ourselves to this very high-end expensive watch. And part of me hates that I made a joke of that, because this is another one of those things that, why don't we honor ourselves in that way? Why don't we aspire to gifting ourselves with something that a corporation might gift one of their employees? I think that we are all deserving of it. So this image of the watches is also a reminder of that. I already briefly talked about this image because it is of a painting, but it is to remember that this year is a year of celebration for me and my husband. But it's also to have an appreciation of where we are. We do live right down the street from the beach. We sometimes forget that it's there and we don't always appreciate it. Just in the same way that I think that we can tend to get so busy in our lives that we don't stop to appreciate our house, where we live, and even at times each other. So if I had to assign just one word to that image, it would be appreciation. And lastly, this image of the table is for a double reason. One, because going along those same lines with like appreciating our settings, we're now lucky to have both sets of our parents down here in Florida for longer stretches of time than they've been able to visit in the past. And so we have more people to spend time with, and therefore can do more entertaining. So that is something that I would like to do more of this year. And not just entertaining, but to kind of elevate that experience a little bit. I want to get nicer serving dishes, and I want to make it a whole thing. I don't want to just serve the dish that I made. I want to create a whole vibe around it, because I think that meals that we get to share with our loved ones should be celebrated and they should be made really special. But the other reason that I chose that image is because last year my sister Laura and I started a new project a podcast called Film to Table where we review movies and also talk about food. After podcasting for a year together, Laura and I realized how each of us are really fascinated with this concept of the dinner table and everything that goes with it. The conversations that we have, the art that we create, the act of serving, the arguments that might happen at a dinner table. We have so many nostalgic memories of sitting at big tables with our family as kids. And I really see the beginnings of something creative, maybe even beyond the podcast, that the two of us continue to explore together. I like to include my word of the year on my vision board to keep it front and center and remind myself what I'm working toward. And this year, I chose the word audacity. And I was having a conversation with someone about this word a few days ago, and it dawned on me that this is kind of a negative word, which is not something that I considered when I chose it. I want to do big things that are outside of my comfort zone. Years back, I chose the word fearless, and it is very much in alignment with that, but I don't want to just be fearless in my pursuits. I want to do them without caring about what anybody else thinks of it. This word was very specifically chosen because I am turning 40 this year. And I've heard so many women who are older than me, and some that are younger who are very wise, who have said every year that they get older, they just care a little bit less about what everyone thinks. So I really want to harness that wisdom from the women who are ahead of me on the journey and not make it a whole negative thing, but more to have the trust that if there's something that I'm feeling called to do, then I need to go pursue it. And I need to kind of put blinders on as to all of the stuff that might come up. So that is the power that I want to carry through this word audacity. But the other reason that I chose it was this first part of the word, the Audi part. If you're familiar with the Enneagram, and if you're not, I will drop a resource in the description below. I'm an Enneagram 9, which is also known as the peacemaker. And one of the characteristics of an Enneagram 9 is feeling like their voice and their opinion does not matter. But I don't want that to be the case. I know that my voice matters. I know that I have a message to share, and I want to make sure that I am broadcasting that. It's also the reason why I chose this little subphrase that appears on the other side of my vision board that says, raise your voice, which is also something when I read that line feels foreign and uncomfortable to me, because anyone who knows me, I mean, you can probably gather this even just from following me online, but for anyone who knows me in real life has probably never heard me raise my voice before, ever. And of course, I don't mean that in a completely literal sense, but I also love this vision of stepping up to the mic in the way that Midge is doing when I am called to do so. I hope that this breakdown has inspired you to either create your own vision board or to tinker with the one that you already started. That's the beauty of a digital vision board, is that you can make changes to it. And if you've posted your vision board anywhere, either in a blog post or a video somewhere on social media, please share a link to that in the comments. I'm so inspired by looking at what everyone else has created and what you're working towards. You can also feel free to share your words of the year in the comments below, and I look forward to reading all of them. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It is an easy and free way to support the work that I do. And if you're excited to go on this creative journey with me throughout the rest of 2023 and beyond, hit that subscribe button. Wishing you a bright and beautiful year ahead, and until we meet again, get out there and make something beautiful.